This is the place where Isaiah and Jeremiah penned the principles of righteousness that became the moral foundations for Western civilization.
Something impossible is happening in the lowest place on earth. Where nothing has lived for centuries, life is returning. The Dead Sea, a symbol of silence and judgment, is changing before our eyes. Its waters keep falling year after year, carving open the dry land and revealing deep cracks in the earth. But now, hidden inside those wounds, new pools glimmer in the sunlight. Fresh water is rising where only salt should exist. Even stranger, in some of those pools, fish are swimming. Scientists can't explain it, believers can't ignore it, because thousands of years ago, a prophet described this very moment. Could the ancient vision of Ezekiel be unfolding right now in the desert between Israel and Jordan? Before we continue, subscribe for more discoveries where faith meets archaeology, and don't forget to turn on notifications for our next revelation from the Holy Land. The Dead Sea has always defied life. Its salt is so thick that nothing can survive. For centuries, travelers came only to float, never to fish or farm. Yet today, this same sea is shrinking fast. Each year, the waterline falls by more than a meter. Canals were proposed, plans were drawn, but the desert keeps winning. The once blue shoreline now lies cracked and white, a ghost of what was. Around it, hundreds of sinkholes open without warning, swallowing roads and trees. But in those empty scars, something unexpected appears. Clear water gathers. Springs bubble. Tiny ripples break the surface. What was dead is stirring again. Could these fragile pools be the first heartbeat of an ancient promise?
At first, scientists thought these new pools were just accidents of geology, rainwater trapped in sinkholes. But when explorers peered closer, they noticed movement beneath the surface. Something alive flickered in the light. Fish! Real, breathing fish, swimming in water that should kill them within minutes. How did they get here? Some say freshwater springs are seeping below the desert. Others whisper about hidden channels from the Jordan River. No one can agree, but everyone is astonished. For believers, another question rises above every theory. Were these creatures placed here by design? If the Dead Sea is beginning to come alive, is the prophecy from long ago awakening too? And if so, what comes next? More than 2,600 years ago, a man named Ezekiel described a vision that startled his generation. He saw a river flowing out from Jerusalem, streaming through the desert and emptying into a Dead Sea of salt. But in that vision, the water didn't stay lifeless. It turned clear. It teemed with fish. Trees lined its banks, their leaves never withering. For centuries, people assumed this was only a symbol, a picture of spiritual renewal. Yet today, as freshwater pools form at the edge of the real Dead Sea, that old vision feels less like poetry and more like a preview. Could Ezekiel have seen our century in his dream? If his river has begun to flow, what might soon follow its path?
Ezekiel wasn't the only one who saw living water in the desert. Another prophet, Zechariah, spoke of a day when waters would flow from Jerusalem half toward the eastern sea and half toward the west. It would happen when the world finally turned toward its true king. For centuries, teachers called these images symbolic, a picture of renewal, not geography. But the pattern is too striking to ignore. Two prophets, hundreds of years apart, describing the same flow of life, reaching the same barren sea. And now, across the salt plains of the Jordan Valley, water really is returning. If these ancient visions echo each other so perfectly, what are they pointing to beyond the horizon? What if their time has started? Researchers studying the Dead Sea described collapsing salt layers, shifting aquifers, and hidden currents threading beneath the desert floor. They show maps dotted with new freshwater springs, unexpected networks bringing clean water up through poisoned ground. Each discovery adds data, adding logic. Yet beyond the charts lingers a deeper question that no instrument can measure. Why now? The timing feels almost scripted. As the sea contracts, renewal rises in its wounds. Science explains the process. Prophecy captures its purpose. Maybe nature and scripture are speaking the same language, one through erosion, the other through revelation. And if that's true, then these ripples on the Dead Sea could be the surface of a story far larger than geology can tell. The Dead Sea has always mirrored the human heart, beautiful, yet broken. Once its waters shimmered. Now they retreat into silence. But when life returns to what was dead, it whispers a greater truth. What if the same renewal rising from these sinkholes is what God desires for the soul? Every crack in the desert floor, every bubbling spring speaks of a power that revives what sin or sorrow has drained dry. In the same way the land is being healed, hearts can be too. The Dead Sea is more than geography. It's a message written in salt and light. When restoration begins in the lowest place on earth, perhaps it means renewal is near for the whole world. For skeptics, prophecy sounds like poetry, until history proves otherwise. Centuries ago, a prophet described a proud coastal city reduced to ruins and tossed into the sea. Historians now trace that very event in ancient records. The stones of that city still rest beneath the waves. Details once dismissed as faith folklore became verified fact. And if so many prophecies have already come alive with precision, how can we ignore what's stirring at the Dead Sea? Every ripple seems to echo a pattern we've seen before: warning first, wonder after. If the past has confirmed the prophets, perhaps the present is confirming the next chapter. And if that's true, what prophecy is waiting just beyond the surface? Across Israel, signs of renewal stretch far beyond the shoreline. Once barren fields now burst with fruit. Cities bloom where dust once drifted. After centuries scattered abroad, the people of Israel have returned, rebuilding, reviving, breathing life into prophecies once read as distant dreams. Each harvest, each return, each prayer at the Western Wall feels like another grain of sand marking divine timing. And as the nation awakens, the change by the Dead Sea seems to echo that same heartbeat. What begins in one valley may soon sweep across nations. Could the rebirth of this land be the spark of a greater revival still ahead? If life rises here again, how close is the world to its own awakening? Beneath the blazing desert skies, the Dead Sea shimmers like glass, half vanishing, half reborn. Salt crystals glitter where water once lay, and from them new life swims. It's as if creation is rehearsing its own resurrection. Prophets saw rivers of healing flowing from a holy city. Scientists now record springs rising from the depths. Faith and fact converge in a single breathtaking image. What was dead begins to live. Yet every sign points beyond the shore. Because if God restores a sea once scarred by judgment, what else might he be preparing to renew? The earth groans, the waters stir, and prophecy stirs with them. The question isn't if it's happening, only how close we are to the moment it all breaks open.